It was a moment to bask in the glory, absorbing the adoration of world leaders. Donald Trump has delivered a ceasefire in Gaza, and they signed a deal to confirm it.
They said the final prophecy would start with peace. Now Israel has signed the exact 7-year deal the Bible warned about. Leaders from the US, the UK, and the Middle East are all in, and the world is cheering. But buried in the announcement is something far more dangerous, and it's already in motion. The peace deal nobody saw coming. The announcement came quietly, but its impact is anything but small. Multiple nations have now committed to a peace agreement with Israel, one that stretches exactly 7 years. The United States is in, the UK is in, several Middle Eastern countries have reportedly signed on as well. Publicly, it's being framed as a historic diplomatic breakthrough, the kind of deal that wins awards and headlines. But the language surrounding it is unusual. Phrases like long-term stabilization, regional restructuring, and oversight councils hint that this isn't just about peace. It's a framework. Even stranger, the details weren't rolled out in a major ceremony. There was no global celebration, no televised countdown, no grand stage. Instead, it slid into the news cycle like a side note, almost as if it was meant to happen without attention. On the surface, it looks like unity. But if you know the pattern of prophecy, you already recognize the number that changes everything. And the 7 years isn't even the most alarming part. Trump's role and the Board of Peace. Right after the quiet rollout of the treaty, one detail shocked observers. Trump was named as the head of a new international body called the Board of Peace. He didn't look like the mastermind. He looked like he was handed a script. He even joked about being too busy to lead it before agreeing to take the position anyway. Tony Blair was named as a likely board member, along with other undisclosed leaders from Europe and the Middle East. The tone wasn't celebratory. It was procedural, almost rehearsed. Here's what stands out. This board isn't ceremonial. It has authority to oversee transitions, negotiations, and even the creation of new governing structures involving Palestinians and international experts. This is not peacekeeping, it's administration. And if someone wanted to control how the next phase of the Middle East is shaped, this is exactly how they do it. But this board isn't the warning sign, its timing is.
The exact prophecy in Daniel 9. For anyone who understands prophecy, the mention of a 7-year peace deal is a trigger. Daniel 9:27 isn't vague. It describes a covenant made with Israel that lasts one set period of 7. According to the text, the agreement starts peacefully, but fractures halfway through. The one behind it isn't a diplomat or celebrity. He's called a prince, a future world ruler who appears to support Israel before turning on them. For generations, people speculated this was symbolic. Now, the timeline is real. A treaty exists. Nations are aligned. The oversight body is global. And those who once dismissed prophecy are suddenly quiet. There's another layer Daniel points to. The midpoint of the treaty isn't when chaos begins, it's when masks come off. And before that breaking point, there's a construction project the scriptures say must take place. Because the treaty is not the end, it's the setup for what gets built because of it. Gaza, tension, and temple preparations. The transcript hinted at something most people ignore. Before the third temple rises, Gaza must fall. That's not guesswork. It's tied to centuries-old rabbinic expectation and modern military positioning. The destruction, the displacement, the reshuffling of territories, all of it makes room for something bigger. At the same time, 5 red heifers were quietly transported to Israel, pure, unblemished, and already being prepared for sacrifice. The Temple Institute has completed the vessels. Priests are in training. Artifacts are ready. Even DNA from Levitical bloodlines has been traced for priestly service. So what needs to happen before the temple rises? A framework, a treaty, an oversight board, international approval, and a weakened opposition. Right now, all 5 exist at the same time.
But prophecy says something breaks the peace before the temple rituals even finish. And that moment is closer than most think.
Digital ID, the first chain. While the treaty is forming in silence, something else is being implemented in the open. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom just announced that no citizen will be allowed to work without a digital ID. Not suggested, mandatory. Biometric verification tied to employment, banking, and mobility. This isn't isolated. Vietnam froze over 80 million bank accounts until citizens registered their biometrics. The European Union is finalizing its digital wallet. The US has pilot programs through FedNow and DHS, and all of it is being sold as security and inclusion. They're not calling it the mark. They're calling it access. The unsettling part? Every rollout uses the same language: identity, compliance, integration, permission. Once the infrastructure is complete, there won't be debates. There will be conditions. And the chip doesn't need to be in the hand yet. It just needs to control what you touch. The shadow of Revelation 13. Revelation says the mark prevents buying and selling without approval. For centuries, that sounded symbolic. Today, it's logistical. The system is already operational in pieces: digital ID, biometric verification, programmable currencies, location-based restrictions, and social compliance scoring. Thailand already has citizens with chips under the skin. Sweden has workplaces using implanted access tags. The WEF has called implanted identity inevitable. All it will take is one global crisis to shift the card to the body. And when prophecy says rich and poor, great and small, it isn't describing rollout. It's describing enforcement. But the template already exists, and one country has been testing it for years. China's system, the prototype. Look at China, and you're staring into the future others are copying. Millions are tracked by cameras that analyze faces, movements, and even walking patterns. If you jaywalk, the system identifies you and deducts money from your account. No officer involved, no court, no permission. Your credit score can block you from trains, planes, schools, or even vending machines. Travel is determined by compliance. Privacy doesn't exist, and resistance isn't a legal category, it's a malfunction. This isn't theory, it's active. And the same companies building China's surveillance tech are selling it to Europe, the Middle East, the United States, and Israel. But where does that leave freedom or faith? Because prophecy never said the system would announce itself. It said the world would adapt to it before they realized they were trapped. When banking and identity become the same thing. There's a reason digital money and digital ID are being developed together. Once access to funds is locked behind biometric identity, money stops being personal. It becomes permission-based. The Bank of England is already testing programmable currency. The IMF has outlined compliance-linked access. Central banks are rehearsing climate-based spending controls. That means if your identity is restricted, your money is too. And once purchases are tied to approval, prophecy about buying and selling isn't futuristic, it's policy. In leaked documents, the Brit card isn't just ID, it's a key tied to your health records, location logs, financial accounts, travel permissions, and social behavior. And when one nation builds the template, others follow. So the question isn't when control starts, it's when resistance stops being possible.
Antichrist technology disguised as innovation. Elon Musk's Neuralink is marketed as medical progress, but its capabilities go beyond treatment. Thought-controlled devices, memory access, digital linking between identity and biology, exactly the kind of system Revelation warns will merge humanity with control. People laughed at prophecy until the numbers lined up. Translate Neuralink into Hebrew numerology through Greek calculation, and the total equals 666. Coincidence? Maybe to some. But surveillance, chips, social scoring, and peace treaties don't evolve by accident at the same time. Someone doesn't need to appear evil to build the final tool. They just need the world desperate enough to accept it. And the last piece falling into place isn't tech, it's influence. Scripted media and the last silence. One of the most disturbing parts of the transcript was the media montage, anchors across different networks repeating the same lines word for word. They pretended to criticize scripted messaging while reading from the same script themselves. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when narratives are assigned, not reported. The question isn't who writes the script. The question is why every outlet is reading it at the same time, especially right as Israel signs a 7-year deal, digital ID becomes mandatory, banks start freezing accounts, and the temple preparations accelerate in the background. Prophecy says there comes a moment when deception stops hiding, not because it's exposed, but because exposure no longer matters. And if everything has already started, then the next move won't be spoken, it'll be enforced.